live. Welcome everyone to Shining the Light On podcast, episode 2. We are your hosts. I'm Amber Romaniuk and my lovely...
I'm Therese Tucker. There we go.
I'm so excited for this. Of course, we are live. So if you are coming to join us, feel free to leave questions, comments in the chat. Otherwise, today's topic, AI, artificial intelligence models. This is huge and tied into body image, which we're going to get into. But this is a huge topic right now. And I think it's really having quite the impact on our minds.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the details. This is something I heard about recently. It sounds like Levi's, the clothing brand, is going to incorporate AI models instead of hiring human beings to model their clothing. And their reason for it, get this, their reason is because it helps show diversity and will help with sustainability. That's their reason they're going to do it.
Right. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Not, I'm being sarcastic. Yeah, that to me is just not healthy at all. But that's just,
the concern that I have when I saw this is, I mean, first of all, we're seeing AI move through things so rapidly.
Yes.
And there was you had found an Instagram post where a woman was talking about the face filters and how what they had done was they'd taken a whole bunch of women's faces and used AI to merge them to create a female face blueprint, which is sort of like what AI would consider the standard of beauty.
Yes.
And so then women put these faces on and they get used to it. And there's even an increase in people wanting to look like the avatar that they've created with their face.
Yeah.
And she had pointed out that, isn't it, pretty soon what you're going to see is you're going to see a bunch of women who all kind of look the same.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is, I don't know if you're familiar with who Dylan Mulvaney is, but he's or she's the trans woman who recently got facial feminization. She's sort of like at the top of exposure for that. And everybody commented that basically she looked like a replica of Caitlyn Jenner. Right? Which I could totally see that. It's like the same, the same eyebrows, kind of the same, the lift in the eye and everything. And it's like, what you're seeing is this carbon copy look.
Yeah.
Where we're starting to lose individuality.
Yes, exactly. And a couple of things that I've noticed on this topic is, number one, we've already been in this era of this wanting the collective to look alike. And I think the Kardashians did a great, horrible job of influencing the female population with all the injections and the facial, fillers and the fake butts and the implants and like all of these things. Like, you can really see so many cookie cutters of similar women that look like similar to them out in the world that are idolizing them and want and think, oh, if I can look like this, maybe I'll have what they have, right? Not knowing that that's kind of part of the plan. And so that's the first thing. The second thing, yes, the video where Samantha, I can't remember last time, was talking about this AI, and the face, of course, that they're going for is like the chiseled jaw, right? Like, where it looks like you literally have like no retention ever under your chin, which, God, if I eat too much salt, like I'm retaining water like crazy, right? And like a certain lip size, a certain eye size, a certain kind of eyebrow. And it's like, heck, now we don't even have to use people anymore. We can just use AI and again, skew the image, my unique image, and convince me that it's not enough. So now it's not just magazines. It's not just, like Hollywood celebrities. It's not just like the TV shows. It's now this AI in these apps. And you're right. Like, I read a stat that even girls as young as 5 are using these filters and now wanting to go and get plastic surgery. Women are literally taking photos of themselves with these filters on and taking them to these plastic surgeons going, make me look like this, make my eyes bigger. And the surgeon's like, I cannot make your eyes bigger. But this is the brainwashing and the conditioning that is sadly like influencing women. And it's
Oh God.
sad because this is a serious thing for you to get so used to using a filter that you want to alter your face and or your body, right? So I think this conversation today is so important because women already struggled immensely with body image issues and insecurities, and this is just heightening it even more.
Yeah, I mean, I as a person who's suffered with body dysmorphia for a very long time in my life, um, I am so grateful that this didn't come out when I was a teenager, because I
Same,
don't think I could have gotten past it. I don't know if
same.
I would have been able to. I actually used one of those filters on my face, and I took a video and then I showed it to my husband and to my kids. And the response from them was so interesting. They were like, I don't like that. You look
Yeah.
like an alien. That
Yeah.
doesn't look like you. I miss you. And I thought, thank goodness, there are people in your life that are going to be there for, hopefully be there for you, to tell you that
Yeah.
this standard that they're trying to create of beauty, it's not something that everybody wants, but you want it internally when you're seeing it. And I'm like, I am so guilty of using filters on Instagram. I mean, I use the ones that smooth out the skin and sort of make everything look
Right.
even, or help to make my eyes look less puffy. But even that, in that, I'm like, this feels so dishonest in a way. And
Right.
there's that layer too, where you kind of feel like you're lying to the world or you're lying to yourself. And there's just this, because what we're surrounded with now is that everything has to be at this level now. Now we've
Yes.
created this level and
Yes.
people are at this level. We have to constantly be there. Anything less is like, are you okay? What's wrong with you? Do you not have the
Yeah.
right lighting, or blah, blah,
There's a standard that is not, to me, it's inhumane. It's not real anymore. And it's like, to the fact that Botox injections and lip filler injections have been normalized for like 16, 17, 18-year-olds are getting them now. Women in their 20s, because, oh, I don't want lines. And it's like, what? Like, I'm 35 and I would never think about getting any of that crap injected into my face or my body. I get some women get Botox for migraines and stuff. And I think that's a completely different thing. I'm not talking about that. Like, I'm talking about because you have been influenced and
Yeah.
you have been conditioned, and the fact that people have this much power and influence over you, that you're putting all this stuff into your face and your body and all this chemically laden makeup and like 10 skincare products because this person is endorsing it. Like, that just goes to show you the power of influence. And we're not thinking at all about how might this impact my well-being? How might this impact my health, my face in 10 or 15 years? What am I going to look like if I keep doing this? It's just the now, like, oh, this is the trend now. I want this now. This person's doing it, right? So I feel like, this is a great intro into this, that there's this AI modeling. Well, that's just going to create these cookie cutter images, right? And influence our psyche more, because now they can just edit the perfect looking figure even
Right. So they
more.
can literally make an unattainable
Yeah,
standard for humans. And that's the part
exactly.
that scares me, is
Yeah.
that we're going to be introduced to, magazines and videos. I mean,
Yeah.
the scary thing with this AI model thing is you can make it look very real. They're not
Yes.
obviously avatars. They're not cartoonish. They're not, you know, there somebody pulled up in one of the videos I watched that they literally just put in a few words into one of these AI image creators and created these people where it was very clearly
Yep.
looked like a person. I actually saw someone on Instagram a couple weeks ago. She's an actress and she tried an AI headshot session. Get this, so they take a blueprint of your face and then
Wow.
they can make headshots using other like stock photos of people posed in certain images, and it looks like you, but you're not there. And those aren't real pictures of you. And of course, they have to modify and
Yep.
change your features to blend it into this person's body. It's like you're
Wow.
selling. It's so weird because it's false marketing. And especially for, I mean, she was showing it as a joke. She was like, I never would use this.
Right.
I would only use a real photographer. But it's like, that's a marketing tool for actors. And if you're using something like that, it's like you're not even marketing your real self. You're marketing this imaginary version of you.
Exactly. It's a false construct, this false reality. It's not even real. And then in the meantime, because it looks so real. Cause I agree. I've seen some of it too. I'm like, oh my gosh, it literally looks like a real human being. And when you don't know what to look for, and let's face it, I'll put myself 10 or 15 years ago, I would have been so gullible to believe it and then pick myself apart even more, right? Because when you're insecure and you don't like your body and you are in this desperation to look a certain way, lose a certain amount of weight, do whatever you need to do to try and fit in or get love or money or whatever it is, like you see stuff like that and it just debilitates you and your worth even more because you believe it. And when we're in this state, we're not discerning, we're not questioning, we're not going, okay, is this real? Like, is there some kind of app I can get that detects if this is a human or if this is AI, which I hope we start to see more of that coming out so that, people can have access to that, which would be helpful, but it debilitates your worth even more. And then of course, guess what that does to big industry? They make more sales because they're like, oh, if I buy this brand, maybe I'll fit in more. Maybe I'll feel good enough. It'll make me feel good. So that's the whole point, is the consumerism, the breaking down of your self-worth. Right. So
yeah. And not only that, but if we go back to the Levi's example, even those people who are really concerned about diversity, this is the thing that's going to shoot that in the foot, because
exactly.
Why not hire diverse models?
Yes.
Why make them up?
Yes.
I mean, it sucks because not only is it going to have an impact on our psyches, and I think probably increase body dysmorphia, which is something that's pretty rampant anyway.
Yes.
But then it's literally going to take jobs away from people at the same time.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how humanity responds to this. Hopefully there's usually a counter movement that happens with something like this, but in the meantime, you got me thinking. I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but years ago when I was an actress, I had a side job working as a receptionist for a Park Avenue plastic surgeon.
Right.
And one of the things that, and this was at the height of my own dysmorphia, I was there because I was like, this is a great place to be. I could use these services. Right.
Right.
But it was weird because on one hand, I was very into it, or very falling into it, feeling like this is necessary. You have to be here. This is what gives you an edge. And on the other hand, I was being confronted daily with women who all had a singular trait in common, which was high levels of insecurity. Beautiful women with nothing wrong with them coming in and picking themselves apart, trying to attain something that their mind was telling them they were lacking.
Yep.
And many of the times it was all they were lacking was a loving relationship with themselves, with their body, a lack of acceptance of themselves.
Yeah.
And I mean, beautiful people where you're like inside, I'm like, why are you here?
Right. Totally. But this is why a great lesson for all of us is to never judge or assume that because someone looks a certain way, that they are confident, they are happy, they are connected, they are in love. Because, I've had so many women come forth, and it's not a judgment. It's like, I'm shocked. I'm like, you struggle with body image issues. You struggle with this. Wow. Like I never would have expected just from the outside view, because we're taught, oh, you're beautiful and you have a certain body size. Like you must be so happy, but they're almost more terrified of losing control and more, right? Because there's so much pressure to attain this image. And so if you're going through that, we're sending you a lot of love, because it's no way to live. And I think don't judge others when you see and just think, oh, it must be nice to be like that. You never know what's going on inside for someone, whether they are have this, quote unquote, what society deems as the perfect body, and that's one thing too, just quick, that I'll share with, when I was healing my body image stuff, is when I would go out and see other women who, were hanging on to a lot of protection and stuff, gosh, the compassion, the loving compassion, and just wanting to go up and hug these women. Cause it's like, I know what you're going through. I know, I hope you're happy and confident, but I know from me, and when I went through like how hurt and fearful and insecure you might feel. And like, all you want to do is just give people love when you go through it yourself and you start healing it. Right. Yeah. So this is where the deep healing is so important, so that we can detach from this AI garbage and the filters and whatever. If you want to use one day because it's fun, that's fine, but not needing this this, right? And then comparing yourself and going, there's something wrong with me because I don't look like that. It's unattainable, it's unnatural, it's inhumane. Humanity is not meant to all look the same. So is there anything else you want to share before we pull some cards? Because I feel like there's some good things
yeah,
coming
I
up
mean,
here.
I'm kind of trying to think like, what is the antidote? What is the antidote that we should focus on in the face of this? Because it's not going away.
No.
And so I mean, I'm kind of a person who's like, it's already here, it's growing, it's going to take all the forms it's going to take.
Yeah.
So rather than being angry about its presence and trying to necessarily fight that, there's a choice I feel like we need to make if we want to feel confident and healthy, and beautiful. I mean, I think that the thing that comes forward is that we're going to see people who really start appreciating originality and uniqueness, because our faces, especially, you know, nobody wants the same, nobody's attracted to the same face. Nobody enjoy. I'm like, there's things that people enjoy, and the variety, our brains actually crave variety. We like being, we get mentally stimulated when things are new and different. When things are new and different, our brain perks up and it's like, oh, something's different. Let me figure it out. There's something unique about what I'm looking at. Let me observe and enjoy it. It's just like art. Our brains are stimulated by art. We wouldn't want to see the same damn painting everywhere we went. Can you imagine?
No.
What that would, but seriously, it makes, this is where my brain goes conspiratorial, because maybe that's some of the intention, is to sort of shut the brain down in some way. If there isn't something new and stimulating to look at when it comes to humanity and our faces, if everyone starts looking like Kim Kardashian, some part of us goes to sleep, because there's nothing there to really awaken and keep us interested.
Individuality gets deleted, and that, I think that's one of the God, like, you know what I mean, like universal sacred things about all of us is our individuality, and our and our looks are part of that, and sacred, and not just that, but it also ties us into our parents and like the lineage and all of these things, right? So it's now stripping our lineage, our heritage, our history. It's very deep.
It's even deeper than that, because if I can take you onto the woo-woo side of things, there is proof out there that we actually hold in our face specifically some of our soul blueprint, and that includes past lives. So, you know, you've heard of like the celebrity doppelgangers, right? Where you see a picture of like Matthew McConaughey now, and then this weird guy from like the 1800s who looks just like Matthew McConaughey. It's like, past lives are, they actually say that part of the reason, and again, this is conspiratorial, you can't really prove it yet, but part of the reason they have the facial recognition software is because they already have the technology to track who you were in a past life, and that they are tracking who we were. Because let's say you're Nikola Tesla, you want to have, you know, a pulse on where Nikola Tesla is hanging out right now. And watch that person. So our face literally is a window to our own soul and our own soul lineage.
Agreed. Well said. No, that's such a good point. And I think that that's why I'm so glad we're having these conversations, because it really opens up to the depth of this. It's not just oh, wow, we're finally advancing with technology. It's like, no, like there is so much more to this. So why don't we pull some cards? I'm curious. Goodness, I feel like there's so many questions around this, but maybe we start with, like, I feel like we kind of know the intent behind it, but is there any other like intent behind this that we're not picking up on?
Let's ask the team. Okay. All right. Is there any other intention behind the AI model replacing of humans?
I can't help but laugh a bit, to be honest. It's just,
well, I mean, it seems ridiculous now until it gets normalized, right?
I know, that's the thing.
And that's part of it, is that they're trying to normalize this as part of our life experience. All right. Still
And it
still
shouldn't
waiting
be.
for the team to drop the card here. Hold on. Sometimes they
No
make me shuffle.
worries. Sometimes it takes time. That's okay. We're waiting in anticipation because we know it's going to be good,
Oh,
whatever it is.
yeah. Okay. So the card that comes up here is the Ace of Discs. So this is the
Okay.
hand of God on the physical plane kind of
Wow.
coming in. It's really interesting that we've got this. So we've got this man standing on this mountain time. So
Yeah.
it is talking about a plan is being formed here. And I feel like, okay, what I'm getting from my team is like, this has to do with the bigger spiritual battle that people barely know about. It's like
Right.
barely talked about right now. But they say that ultimately the AI thing, and this again, we're going into a conspiracy rabbit hole as I talk about this, but it has more to do with the battle of good and evil than maybe we realize. And that AI is some kind of it's like a sentient, non-sentient force. It wants to replace God.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if AI were to fully dominate in the way that people talk about, in the kind of dystopian way they talk
Yeah.
about, the intention would be to replace God as a creator being.
Yeah.
And so this is like coming forward because who represents God? We represent God.
Yes.
Nature
Exactly.
represents God. Life force energy, the breath of life, that represents God.
Yeah.
And so the interesting thing here is there's a rising up of, so there you can kind of see there's a person
Yep.
at the top of this mountain, but this rising up of the God force energy within us. At what point do we say enough is enough?
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
and that's one of the things that it's meant to do. It's meant to awaken that in people, which I think it's already working because we're having this conversation. So
Exactly. And I'm sure, well, and so are a lot of other people. Like, again, the video that she has a few 100,000 followers, and everyone in the comments is agreeing that it's right. So people, and I think that's the thing now, is people are noticing things more quickly and starting the conversations more quickly. Um, I think a lot of people are very aware of how much women have been targeted with body image to begin with, and to see this next layer and level, I think it really helps motivate people to go, you know what? No, like, we don't consent. We're not going to tolerate this. Like, this is just another thing that's,
and what's just hitting me as you're saying that is, why are women targeted the most? Because we're the ones who are the most obviously, and I'm saying God is in everything, source isn't absolutely everything,
right.
but women bear children. We
Mhm.
literally create
Yeah,
life and bring it
exactly.
forward. So we're the most threatening. And if you go back in history through time, women were worshipped for that ability because it was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I can see
Powerful.
God in this moment. I can see,
Yeah.
the hand of God here. So
Yeah.
it has been a very long attack on women because it's an attack on God or source energy,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. It's an attack on this greater benevolent force.
Yeah.
And it's all been a part of it. And it's hard to think like, wow, this has been so long coming.
Mhm.
But one of the things, like, if you go down these rabbit holes that you learn, is that if, you got to give credit to those who play for the dark side, because one of their greatest attributes working for them is their absolute patience and
Yes.
persistence. They
It's a
have a
slow
plan.
build.
It's a slow build. But what they learned is, if they go slow enough, we tend not to see it. What I think
Mhm.
is amazing about this time, and I think there's many reasons we're experiencing this, is everything's
Yeah.
accelerating. And
Yes.
when a plan accelerates, you actually start to see its workings. And so that's the beauty of this period. It might feel like everything's coming to a head, but really we're actually being able to see it in the process, and we get to chime
Yeah.
in now and go, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I don't want that. So for
Yeah.
example, my response to Levi's is like, thank you for letting me know you're doing this. I will no longer be purchasing anything from you. Have a great day. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not playing the game with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And thank you for bringing that up before I pull another card. It's a huge part of our power is voting with our dollars, right? And when we
Mhm.
see these things, it's like, I am not giving my money to that company. I'll try to find and source something else that is not in support of this. And I know, gosh, it can be hard to find a blue jean brand that's not, they all come from the same place, but
Yeah.
get something else, or maybe jeans aren't your vibe anymore. I don't know, but it's just like, vote with your dollars. It's so important. And chime in the chat for those of you watching live if you feel called, but it's just, we hold the power, and you see it. You see with the companies that expose themselves, they lose a lot of money. Some of them are going out of business. They're having to really change their tune. And it goes to show you the power we have as the species on this planet.
Well, and it's really interesting because it's the comments around what Levi's is doing is actually creating some unity within different factions of groups of people. But there's some people who they just don't like the AI thing, and so they're shutting it down. There's other people who see it as taking opportunities away from different people or different groups of people, and so they're shutting it down. So the beautiful thing is it is having sort of a unifying effect for people who might not agree on other subjects, but we can all kind of agree that this is effed up.
Totally. And that's the key, is there is always light coming in. So I have another question. I don't know if you have one first.
Yeah, no, go
Let's see
ahead.
if you have. So is the AI model thing really going to take off, or is it going to get really called out really fast and kind of like,
let's
fizzle
find
out?
So is the AI model thing going to take off? Let's find out what they have to say.
A place I could see as you're shuffling where they could try to really sneak this in is with like the Weight Watchers, the Jenny Craig, right? Like all that stuff. Cause I know they can already edit like the human body, but they can just come in and make a model, right? Who's a bit heavier, like, right, hanging on to protection. And then they can just shrink her right down and have those be the spokespeople.
Yeah. So what's really interesting is the Wheel of Fortune comes in here. Now it's in an upright position, which means that they have an opportunity. There is an opening here for this to come through. But with the Wheel of Fortune, there is like this, it's not a set deal, meaning like what they're trying to tell us right now is that we're in the process of it. What they're showing me is like, are you familiar with like the lottery balls and how they spin the cage? They're showing me that right now. So we're at the point right now where this is an opportunity. This means choice point. And that's really more on us, like we're talking about here. So and this is a destiny moment. So this is big for us to get ahead of now. We need to start making choices about how much of this, if any, we will accept. Now, I'm someone who has utilized something like Chat GPT, for example. It's not great. I know it's programmed to be biased in certain ways, and I use it for productivity purposes only. And here's the thing I've come to. It's like AI is going to be part of our lives, but how much is it going to be part? That's the choice point.
Yes.
Is it okay when it crosses over into areas where we don't need it? Like we don't need AI models. The only reason a company would do that is because they want to save the money. That's why they're doing it. It has nothing to do with sustainability or caring about people, which is the cover they're trying to use. What it really has to do with is they want to save a crap ton of money. And having a software create an individual in seconds saves them thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, because they don't have to pay crew. They don't have to pay photographers. They don't have to pay models. They don't have to pay residuals, right? They don't have to continue to pay out. Like I'm sure with a model in their contract, it's not just them getting the pictures taken that they get paid for. They get paid anytime they're in an ad. Anytime that, their image is seen somewhere, they're going to get residuals for that sitting that they did. And these companies are looking for ways to like cut back on their expenses and maintain maximum profit. And it's just, there's no reason for it. Doesn't serve humanity better. It serves the company. It's self-serving.
Of course, which it always is with these big corrupt companies, right? It's always about what's best for them, and that's it. So the choice
it really
point.
the choice point, and it comes down to us. So there's sort of the team sort of saying, you guys got it. You are voting for this or not. So at what point do you say, okay, this can't go any further? And it really will be sort of a user discretion thing. So some people will use, let's say, ChatGPT and like create social media posts really quickly. I love doing it for that. I love taking my words and like reworking them 500 ways and creating more things. That's very time effective in my opinion. But I'm also an artist, and I would never go in to an art AI to create my art. Just for me, that's the line. I'm like, then I'm not the artist anymore. I am the programmer, and I'm not a programmer. I'm an artist. So for me, the line would be, yes, I'll use it to help write content, but I'm not going to use it to create art. And I'm definitely not going to use it to replace people. You know, if I want to see clothing on someone, I actually want to see it on people. I don't want to see digitally enhanced clothing on digitally created people.
No, exactly. I totally agree with you. Yeah, there's a discernment to be had with it.
Yeah, and it's one of these things where in the right circumstances, it might be incredibly useful to us to have this. I don't think it's purely evil. And I know that this is a hard point because there is a danger. There is a slippery slope here where if we go too far, we've gone too far. But there is also something to be said about having, we've already developed this kind of technology, and we have it. You know, the truth is there's much technology that's already here that's not disclosed to us. So we don't actually know what's out there and being used and in what ways yet. All we're looking at right now is what we have access to, and what we can know is that the general public is usually limited, right? We're limited to what kind of technology is truly available. So it's out there, it's being used. I do think that if we know where the boundaries are and we can make decisions about this, it can still be a benevolent tool. It's a hard line. It's a hard line to find.
It is. It's a fine line. It's a fine line. That is for sure. So I'm just thinking, do you have any questions you want to ask the cards before we wrap up around this?
Yeah, I kind of want to dig in a little deeper and see if they can give us any idea about like, where is humanity at with this right now? Like how much of humanity is aware of it and conscious and using that consciousness to create what they want, and how much is kind of not. So let's see if we can get an idea based on what they say.
I love that. And like I said, for any of you watching live while Therese is shuffling, if you have questions, if you have future topic ideas, drop a comment. We're so happy to hear from you, and we hope you're loving this conversation. I love doing this live. This is so fun.
It is.
And the card component, I love so much because it gives us so much insight from the universe, which is always great.
Wow. Okay. They have a lot to say. Interesting. All right. This is a big one, guys. They got like 6 cards here. So, wow. Okay. So interestingly enough, this card comes up right up again. It's still a choice point. So this is major. So whenever we get major arcana cards, what we know is that there's a touch of destiny to this. And what they're telling me is like, this is the timing that this topic, you know, this AI thing, 2023 is the year it spiked. So we are now in that window where we have to make conscious decisions about how far does this go, and how okay are we with certain things. Because even as I talk about something like ChatGPT, I am conscious and aware that there are people who write copy for a living who are getting, you know, AI to kind of out of a job when someone can get that kind of help for free. Is it as personalized and is it as good as someone who's using their own focus and attention to your work? I don't know, but it is affecting, you know, every time we use it, it has a ripple effect on someone somewhere. Now, I do believe that, you know, one of the things we have to accept about reality is that change is the ultimate truth. everything changes. So everything that we think is like solid or nailed down or locked in, it's really not, right? Change is the constant in this world. So what I'm saying is that I believe that, let's say you are a copy editor and you feel like you're getting AI'd out of your job. There is something you're meant to be doing instead. I truly believe that. And you'll be led to it.
Yeah.
But we're at that choice point. Also, there is a belief that this is going to ruin us. And this card, it is the 10 of Swords, but it's coming up in the reverse position. So when the 10 of Swords is present, what it's talking about is a type of like, this is it. But in this reverse position, it usually means, yeah, this is not as bad as it seems. So it's going to be scary. People are going to tell you that this is the hell on earth coming and we're going to be slaves to AI or wiped out by it because it decides humanity isn't worth it.
Right.
That storyline will not play out. It is not as bad as it seems, but that's going to take a leap of faith on our part. We are creator beings. This is a conversation we had before this podcast. We're creating the reality, not AI.
Yeah.
AI is actually still part of our creation. It can think it's going to do it. But the thing with AI, and this is something I actually learned from someone who had a friend he was like a genius who works for Microsoft, and he was working in the AI division. And the one problem they had was that AI, they could not get it to create anything spontaneously new. And she was like, they were at a loss and didn't know why. And I instantly knew why. In order to create anything, you have to channel source energy. You have to channel God. God and source, whatever you want to call it, that is the creator. And the reason why we can be creative is because we are channeling this energy through us. AI cannot do that. It's artificial. It has no link to source or God. It cannot create something that it isn't told to create, right? And so we've got to recognize that we're actually, this is us. This is the divine coming through, right? This is the Hierophant. He represents a spirit, the inner spiritual teacher. This is what is going to be activated within us. The problem or the thing that's in the way is our lack of connection to it, right? Our disbelief in it. There is a block in connection to understanding we can do this. There's a lot of people who can understand our creator aspect in certain things. Like we were talking about the placebo effect, right? Which is a very powerful phenomenon that can happen in people where they can heal themselves because they believe they're being healed by something else. They're taking a sugar pill, but they believe they're taking something that is curing cancer, and suddenly the cancer clears and they're like, guess what? We were only giving you a sugar pill. So what did that, right? It was the person, it was their beliefs and their thoughts. The problem is this disconnection to the understanding of that. And what I mean is maybe we've accepted that the mind can heal the body, but we sort of compartmentalize that creative energy to just this experience. And the rest of it is still something happening to me. Yeah. And the part we need to get to is the understanding that we're actually creating everything. We're creating an entire life. You know, there are some belief systems out there, and I tend to fall into this group where what we're creating is the entire thing is an illusion. It's like you're in a dream, or as I often say, it's like we're in a video game, which I think is the one I can understand a little bit more. But we're creating the world, we're creating the avatar we're playing. We are creating contracts with others where I say, Amber, I'm going to play with you, meet you up in 2020, and we're going to play together. And that was written between our souls before we got here so that we could come into this moment and work and create. And it's like, I think that many people deep down want to believe it, but they're afraid that if they believe that and it's not the truth, that they are somehow deluding themselves. And a lot of people say that is delusional thinking. Like it's delusional to think that you can create. But I would encourage people to come up with examples in their life where what they thought was going to happen, what they put all their time, energy, and attention into was created, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're powerful creators and manifestors. We don't know how powerful of creators and manifestors we are. So there's your gentle reminder.
And the last one, the last card that comes up is the Prince of Discs, which is also known as the Page of Discs in the upright position. And what this is it's letting you know this is an advisatory message. So this whole spread that came through was letting you know, look, this is how it works. This is a choice point. You get to really decide here whether you're the creator or something is creating for you. Is there a monster in the room, or did you dream this up? Do you have the power? And I'll just leave everyone with this. One of the things that helps prove to me that we are creator beings is lucid dreaming. And the reason why is because our subconscious mind is working things out. And many times when we're asleep in our dreams, what is it? It feels just like life, right? It feels like it's happening to us. This dream happened to me. It was so scary. But with lucid dreaming, what you find out is that you're creating this world. You created the monster, you can change the monster. You created the gravity, you can remove the gravity. There's so much, and people do it all the time. And there's an interesting correlation for people who learn lucid dreaming. They actually go deeper into spiritual levels of consciousness within themselves that they hadn't yet been able to access.
Yeah.
Powerful. It is. So we're at a choice point here. We get to decide, is this thing scary and going to take us over? Or are we powerful creators who are even creating our own enemies just so that we can work something out and learn something?
Yeah, it's very powerful. So lots of good information here. I love what the cards have to say. It's so resonant. Connect more with yourself and tap more into this divine gift of connection that you have. So whoa, we did it. Episode 2 is on a wrap, and we've got some people watching live. So thank you for being here. Those of you who are watching live, again, leave comments, feedback in the chat. If you're watching the replay, please leave your topic ideas in the comments, your thoughts, your feedback. We're totally here creating this for you. So before we wrap up, anything else you want to share, Therese, and where can everyone find you? Of course, your details will be below.
Absolutely. So if you want to learn more about me and what I do, you can go to blythestarlight.com. It'll be in the description below, easy to click and look at all the stuff we're doing. And if you catch us live, drop questions for us to ask. We're really eager to know what questions you have, and I'd be happy to pull cards on your own questions about these topics. Because as you can tell, we started out talking about AI models, but the team or my spiritual energy, they're talking about this is much bigger than that. This is about us choosing our power.
Which is huge.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that you can see, like, it's so interesting with these topics, because of course Amber and I are like, oh, this is what it's going to be about. And then Spirit always has another layer to add to it, right?
Yes. Thank you, Spirit. We always appreciate the input, but that's why asking the cards is so great. And to me, what makes this beyond just us having the conversation, because it's so great to get that, we'll call it the third party input. Right. It's actually 3 of us here right now, even though there's only 2 screens. Spirit is here. So thank you so much for being with us today. And of course, we're going to be back next week for another new episode, and we'll be really excited to share with you what that is going to be. Sending you all a lot of love, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.
Bye.